All journeys must come to an end, and that will hold true in today's episode, everybody. Welcome back to the series. Today we have the final episode, the epilogue of this series, episode 97. We have watched this team be etched into the history books as champions. We have watched the first full 9 seasons as an organization, seeing them from their inauguration as a franchise up until their most recent title here in 2033. But today, we will close the book on the story of this franchise and the story of the players that made the first 9 years so special. I'm going to spend most of my time in this episode following the trajectories and the endpoints of the careers of 3 players. Namely being Kylan Moore, John Cobb, and David Dennis. Essentially the 3 stars that we drafted to build this team around. These were the 3 guys that brought us 2 different Larry O'Brien trophies, with Kylan Moore winning both of those finals MVPs. The goal is to see all 3 of these players retire. We'll see other players retire as well, like Maurice Mullen most likely. Dylan Young, I presume, will probably exit the league around the same time as Dennis and Kylan Moore. We'll see players like Kibu Miller enter retirement. We'll see other top players across the entire league like Deion York and maybe Elijah Banks, but he's only 23 years old, so we're not going to be seeing every player that we have come to know in this series retire, but the ones that have really been around since the beginning, like John Cobb and Kylan Moore, those guys we're definitely going to see the full careers up. But what have these players accomplished so far in these first 9 years? Kylan Moore has now played 6 full seasons in the National Basketball Association, and he essentially got better each and every year, and still can probably go up. He's coming off his most productive season. So far in his career, he has averaged over 21 points per game, more than 9 rebounds per game, over 2.5 assists, 1 steal, more than a block per game. He shot 46% from the field, 32% from downtown, 88% at the line, and he's played starter caliber minutes throughout his entire career since he was first drafted back in 2027 with the first overall pick. But 2 years before that, we drafted John Cobb. In 2025, he was our very first selection in the entire series, part of an auto-gen draft class, and he has now played 8 full years in the NBA at 29 years old. And he also has gotten better each and every year, and essentially has been at his peak the last 3 seasons, or really the last 4 seasons, if you include the 2029 and 2030 season. Overall, though, he has averaged over 25 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, 4 assists per game, over a steal per game, about a block per game, 47% shooting, nearly 40% behind the arc, and 92 at the line. He has also been starting pretty much the entirety of his career. The blueprint as of right now also has 2 NBA titles under his belt because he's been a part of both championship teams with the Aztecs. He won Finals MVP both of those years. He's been an all-star player 3 straight years now, and he's coming off his very first-team All-NBA. The 2 years prior to that, he was on the All-NBA second team, and he has also reached first-team All-Defense 1 time. This screen does not show all the awards like second team All-Defense, which he has been a part of before this season, but we will be seeing all of their accolades once they retire in the retirement screen. And the awards for John Cobb look like this. They're actually not too far apart from Kylan Moore's. He has also been a part of both championship teams with Mexico City. He won MVP back in 2032, which was the year before this season. And he has also made the All-Star game in consecutive years. He's got a 4-year streak going, making the All-Star game. Last year, he made the All-NBA first team, and the 3 years surrounding that, he has been a part of the second team All-NBA, has also made third team All-NBA a couple different times as well. I believe this does encompass all of his current awards, but I want to say he also won a scoring title, I'll double check that here in a second. He actually won both scoring titles before this past season, where Ant Edwards had the highest scoring output since himself almost 6 years ago. But John Cobb won the scoring title in 2031 and 2032. And Kylan Moore was actually the league's top rebounder this past season, so that's going to be the other accolade to tack onto him right now. What about David Dennis, though? Drafted the year after John Cobb, taken at pick 4. He has also played 7 seasons here now in the NBA out of Baylor, 26 years old at the peak of his game, but he has been arguably the most consistent player since minute 1. As a rookie, he put up 17 and 7 with points and rebounds, averaged a steal per game, and although this was his worst shooting season as a player, he was even more efficient the rest of his career. And obviously, once Moore became a part of this team, he kind of took a backseat behind him and Cobb. But he has had his fair share of moments. He has taken over some games and key points when Cobb and Moore have not had games going their way. And he has put up pretty much the same numbers every single year of his career. For sure, the most consistent player that we have seen, maybe on this channel, unless he takes a big decline later in his career. But so far, he has averaged almost 19 points per game, about 3 rebounds per game, more than 7 assists per game, 1 steal per game. He has shot 48% in his career so far, 38% from downtown, and 92% at the charity line. And like the other 2 stars, has been a starter since minute 1, essentially. And although I think he has been under-awarded throughout his career because of his consistency and kind of being that third option, he still does have that first-team All-Rookie from back in 2027. Cobb and Moore both have first-team All-Rookies as well, but of course, those won't show up in the screen where you don't even have a second page to view the awards. And this means I will be turning over all roster decisions to the CPU. I will not have any influence on extensions for Cobb or Moore or Dennis. So everything else from here on out is going to be left up to the CPU and the CPU only. I guess we'll see where this takes us. I'm only going to keep the injury part of the lineup automation off so that I can see if any of our favorite players come into some big season or career-altering injuries, which I doubt they will, but just in case, I'll keep that off. Everything else, though, is going to be on. In the 2033 offseason, a couple key players have retired across the league, but for us, it's namely Gary Trent, who has played for us at 2 different points in this series. We also see the Time Lord, Robert Williams, who was the star of the first episode thumbnail. He was a part of that initial roster to open us as a franchise. After 14 years, he has retired. So is Corey Kispert, who was a part of our team for a short time. And entering this season, Kylan Moore is getting even better, but Cobb will stay the same. Dennis actually goes up by 1 at 26 years old. A lot of players going down, though. He signed a lot of veterans this time around. Wow, in the first season without me in control, we made a huge move. We traded away Dylan Young and a future first-round pick, top 3 protected, for Gabe Hayes and the Warriors. So Dylan Young has been eventually traded. We talked about making that move a little while ago, and we end up acquiring Gabe Hayes from the Warriors for Dylan Young. And I think Young is probably the better player. Hayes just has a higher overall. We also have Eric Dudley on our team. Must have signed him. He played for Houston, coming off their bench a year ago. Now he's the backup for David Dennis at points. In the Western Conference, it looks like Kylan Moore and John Cobb both did make the All-Star team. Nobody else for us in the running, as you might expect. And if we look at the All-Star game, I don't think that Cobb started, but he did put up the most points for the West All-Stars. Kylan Moore did start, but only put up 9 points and 5 assists, only 3 rebounds as well. The Aztecs go 52-30 in year 10. They're still the reigning champions, But how about Darius Williams with somehow an even better breakout year than the one he had prior, putting up over 33 points per game on his way to his first ever MVP award. And there are no awards for the Aztecs. How about Zach Webb, though? 30 points per game for Brooklyn. But Kylan Moore adds to his All-NBA first-team resume. And John Cobb does not make any of the All-NBA teams. Kylan Moore, another All-Defensive first team. But he's the only one to make a team All-NBA-wise for the Aztecs. This season, Kylan Moore and Cobb started every game, played every game, but Cobb did get a lot less time than we're used to, which means his production did go down. Moore put up 25 and 12 and was great across the board, shot 36% from downtown, and Cobb shot the ball incredibly well, but only put up 22, 6 and 4 because of a little bit less playing time to stay healthy, and it kind of worked. He played every game and started every game, and he is ready for the playoffs. The Aztecs end up with the 2 seed behind the Grizzlies. The Rockets are a play-in tournament team. Aztecs were only 1 game behind Memphis this season. We're going to sim through the playoffs. We face the Rockets in round 1, and we win in 7. We face Portland in round 2, and they eliminate us. We were the defending champions, and we get knocked out in round 2 by the Trailblazers. There was more playing time for both Kylan Moore and John Cobb here in the postseason. They put up very similar numbers to what they did in the regular season, and we just simply did not play well enough to win. Dennis actually got less playing time, but was still as productive as he was in the previous season. Gabe Hayes, 30% from the field. We lose in 6 against Portland, and it looks like Scoot Henderson may have just carried these guys. Him and Moses Moody carried these guys to the 4 wins that they had. In the end, it is the OKC Thunder who win the title in 5 games against the Baltimore Blue Crabs, with Chet Holmgren as the Kia Finals MVP. Afterwards, in the 2034 offseason, Herb Jones, a multi-year member of this team, has finally retired after 13 NBA seasons at 35 years old, along a bunch of other well-known players like former Aztec Naz Reid and others like Jalen Brunson, Bam Adebayo, Kristaps, Devin Booker, and of course, Donovan Mitchell. And this is how you know the stars are at their peaks right now. No change for Kylan Moore, John Cobb, or David Dennis overall-wise. You've still got Mullen and Gabe Hayes. You've got Elijah Hayes now, so I guess they're the Hayes brothers, perhaps. But they went to different schools. Andre Lewis, our newest point guard. We still have Jalen Williams. And now in the middle of year 11, we are approaching the All-Star break, and we have absolutely caught fire after a very back-and-forth first couple of months. We are now 32-18 on the season, and on a 10-game win streak. And on Christmas Eve, as a present for Gabe Hayes, he was shipped off to Brooklyn for a guy named Luis Finley. We also traded 2 players that I don't really know about for 2 other players that are real players, but will not really have a big impact. That was nearly a deadline move. Oh yeah, we also extended David Dennis to a 4-year, $124 million deal to keep him around long term. That's awesome. Our win streak ended at 12 after wins against Boston and the Miami Heats. Now we go back into the All-Star voting. And it looks like John Cobb actually had a big uptick this year in production. He actually had more votes than Kylan Moore did, both guys top 4, but still, like always, behind Deion York and Victor Wembanyama. And we finish year 11 with a 54-28 record as Darius Williams wins back-to-back MVPs. And it looks like no awards for the Aztecs this year either. All NBA teams, no Aztecs for the first time in several years make the first team. Kylan Moore makes the second team. And John Cobb may have been snubbed. He's not on any of the All-NBA teams. Kylan Moore misses out on All-Defensive First Team for the first time in a couple seasons, but does make the All-Defensive Second Team. This season, it seems like both Moore and Cobb had less playing time. They're not getting those, 36-minute games that we were used to for a long time. 24-10 this season for Kylan Moore. Cobb 22-6-4. Both guys shot the lights out once again. Dennis, like last year, about 16-7, with Cobb playing and starting every game. Dennis starting all but 3 games. Moore did miss 3, but they all played for the vast majority of this season. This year, the Aztecs got the 2 seed again, this time falling 3 games behind of Portland, despite having a better record than we had a year ago. So just a really good year for Portland, the team that knocked us out in round 2 last season. How does this playoff run go here? We face Dallas in round 1. Kylan Moore with some back spasms. John Cobb, a sore right knee. And we take out Dallas in just 5 games, facing off against the Thunder in round 2, sweeping them and reaching another Western Conference Finals. And we have a rematch against the Portland Trail Blazers here. Players back to full health, it seems. And Portland takes a 2-0 lead. We get one back. And we come back and win 4 straight games in the WCF to make the finals for the 4th time as a franchise. Kylan Moore, 28-10 on average, over 2 steals per game here, with some really nice shooting splits in the Western Conference Finals. And it looks like the Brooklyn Nets, wow, it's a rematch. It's going to be a rematch of the Year 7 NBA Finals. We were down 2-0 against Portland, came back and won 4 straight to make the finals again. And now we have our second chance at revenge. We got it against Portland, and now we can do it against Brooklyn and a rematch of the Year 7 NBA Finals here in, what is this, 2035 now? Let's go and get this job done. The Nets take a 3-1 series lead after losing the opening game of the series. The Aztecs do have home court advantage. They'll be at home for Game 5. And we do take Game 5 by 3 points. Game 6 in Brooklyn, and we force a Game 7. This might be our first ever Game 7 in the series. We have yet to have a Game 7 in the playoffs as a franchise. And now we do against the Brooklyn Nets. We'll jump in the very late stages if it is a close game. This one is going to be a home game in Mexico City in the Sports Palace. Big second quarter. Brooklyn closing the gap. They took the lead briefly. Very tightly contested game. We live for these moments, folks. 90 seconds left. The Nets lead it by 2, 108-106. We've got to pull this off. I don't see David Dennis on the court here, but here's Markovic from downtown. He can't knock it down. And they still have Ryan Abdul-Kareem. They also still have Zach Webb, who scores on the other end over Lewis. And now it's a 4-point ball game here. We've got Mullen, Moore, Cobb, Markovic, and Lewis out there as of right now. We'll see if our favorite players can lead us to a little comeback victory here. Maurice Mullen from what looked like downtown can't get it to go. Webb driving and drawing the foul. Number 3 on Moore. We'll see if anybody else comes in to close the game for us. But Zach Webb's got 41 here on 7 for 10 from downtown. He's putting the backpack on for Brooklyn. It seems like Dennis has fouled out because he is not out there. We do bring in Elijah Hayes, who is our starting power forward here in year 11. We trail by 6. Need a couple of threes probably to get our way back in this game. Here's Cobb with it. He'll drive it inside and finish. There's still time. We double team Zach Webb. He gets across the half-court line. 14-second shot clock differential. Webb doubled again. Here's Julian Turner, who's doubled. Back to Webb, wasting all the time they can. Now an open three opens up for Turner, and he connects from downtown. And that might be the ball game, folks. And the Brooklyn Nets still have our number. They take Game 7 to win the 2035 NBA Finals. They stave off the comeback attempts, and our 3-1 comeback falls short in the final moments of Game 7. Brooklyn has once again taken us down in the ultimate series. Zach Webb is your finals MVP. He destroyed us. Shot over 52%, 45% from downtown, nearly perfect at the line, and averaged almost 37 and 3. Our star players stacked up pretty well here in the playoffs, although Dennis definitely took a step back here in the postseason, shooting-wise at least, at only 42%. Cobb shot almost 55%, reminiscent of that Year 9 title run. Dennis also missed a couple of games, or at least was benched for a couple of games. Looks like Markovic might have taken his starting job, at least to close the playoff run, and it's because he was shooting a little bit better. So Dennis's job now with this new point guard group is kind of up for grabs. Was not expecting this, but a very different development than I was really expecting for any of these players. Oddly enough, Giannis has retired as a Laker after 22 pro years. Nikola Jokic retires, though, in Denver. He's been there the entire dang time. Jaylen Brown was part of that Portland team this year, but it's definitely in the twilight of his career. And yet, somehow, despite being 31, John Cobb's overall goes up, and so does Dennis's. But now it looks like Markovic no longer on this team, so his job should be safe for the upcoming season. We also now have Jason Tatum on the team. He's 37 years old. Good lord. We also brought back James Wiseman after all these years. Welcome back, sir. In year 12, we extended both Mullen and the blueprint Kylan Moore. Mullen gets a 3-year, $69 million deal, and Kylan Moore adds to his resume of massive contracts, getting 4 years, $286 million. And this season, Kylan Moore led the Western Conference in front court voting, getting second overall in voting behind Kebu Miller. John Cobb also makes the All-Star game with the 4th highest number of votes for front court players, because he's listed as a small forward now. And there goes Tatum with a left leg stress fracture. We've had a couple of key role players get hurt very long term this season. He's now one of them. Oh, and at the very end of the season, approaching playoff time, Kylan Moore, having what I assume to be a very promising season, has broken his left hand. And we are at the end of March, really like a week and a half away from entering the postseason. We end the year on a losing streak, it looks like. And we go 55-27. Kebu Miller wins MVP. I think he was pretty much due for one of these at some point in his career. And we got no awards again. And because he's hurt, he's going to miss out on the All-NBA teams. Or not. I guess he makes the second team, but probably makes the first team if he stays healthy all year long. John Cobb the last couple years, because of the less playing time, he's not getting a chance to stake his claim to the All-NBA teams. But more on the all-defensive second team once again. I think it's clear that he is our best player and has been probably since around year 8, I would have to say. But here's how the team shaped up this year. Of course, we have Moore out right now to open the playoffs. Tatum's done for the season. The other guys actually came back by year's end, but we had a really strong player come off our bench, Chance Purdue. And he was drafted in 2031, and we signed him after Golden State chose not to bring him back, and he's been a huge player for us off the bench, over 21 points per game. But Kylan Moore, 25 and 10 and 3 this year. John Cobb did not shoot quite as well as previous seasons, but has been fully healthy for pretty much 3 straight years, playing all 82 games and putting about 22, 6 and 4 like the last couple of seasons. David Dennis, 14, 3 and 6.5. And once again, we got the 2 seed, but this time the gap between us and number 1 was the largest ever. The Kings had an insane, like almost never before seen season, putting up 69 wins, only 13 losses, one of the best records in the history of the NBA. And they are, of course, the 1 seed by a very wide margin. So how do we do here in the playoffs, missing Kylan Moore for at least the first handful of games? We actually get Tatum back. Is that going to matter? I don't know, but we're facing off against Denver. We get Kylan Moore back for game 3, and we still go on to lose in round 1 in 6 games against the Denver Nuggets. Denver goes on to get swept in the WCF by the Norman Wilder-led Mavericks, and it's a Pacers-Mavericks finals, with the winner this season being the Dallas Mavericks, with Wilder putting up 29, 9 and 7 in the finals on great shooting, and Tyriar, another early exit here in the postseason. So how do we show up to play in round 1? It looks like Cobb put up a lot of our points, played very well, but when Kylan Moore was out there, he was not at his best. Only shot 32% from the fields. That is a steep decline from what we have seen in years past. Elijah Hayes also played poorly. Purdue only shot 42%. Outside of Cobb and Dennis, the rest of this team lets the team down. And Jason Tatum and Wiseman have both retired alongside Katz and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, so they're all gone. And once again, no overall movement for Moore, Cobb, or Dennis, but a couple different attributes do go up, and nobody has declined yet. We have added Paolo Banchero to our team. He is going to be our new number 4. So our starting 5 is going to be pretty incredible, with our lowest overall being Mullen at 85, despite being 32 years old. Year 13 now, and we also extended John Cobb, 4 years, 285, so at least the CPU is trying to keep around our key players like Cobb, Moore, and Dennis. Right now we're 37 and 18, and in all-star voting, Miller has led the Western Conference for like the last 6-7 seasons, man. Kylan Moore, second behind Deion York in the front court. John Cobb at 5th behind those two, Wemby and well-known player Frank Bauer. Approaching the end of year 13 now. We finished with a 58 and 24 record. Kylan Moore wins MVP for the first time, averaging 25 points per game, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks, and amazing shooting splits. Well deserved. That means that now he and Cobb each have their own MVPs, about 5 or so years apart. Anything else for the Aztecs? That seems to be it, but 58 and 24 is a pretty darn good record. Kylan Moore makes the All-NBA first team. And nobody else makes it. So Kylan Moore right now at the absolute peak of his career, putting up some great numbers. John Cobb has been declining slowly. Kylan Moore, all defensive first team. It does seem like players that have their main talent as scoring and not additional talents. Like, Cobb can do a lot, but scoring is his main thing, right? And it seems like those kinds of players decline faster than players that can do a lot of things very, very, very well. You can see that right here as well. Cobb was a bit banged up this year, played through injury a couple different times, had some broken ribs, had a couple sprained ligaments in different areas, but ends up putting up only 20 points per game, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. So although the percentages look pretty good, he's not getting as much volume, and it seems like Kylan Moore is getting the lion's share of field goal attempts now that he's kind of come into his own as a player. David Dennis has also taken a bit of a step back, but did play every game and start every game this season. He had about 1 assist more per game compared to a year ago and shot way better as well. But it seems like every year some other team beats us out for the 1 seed. This time it's the Suns putting up 60 wins as we fall 2 games behind them. So they've been the 2 seed for like 5 or 6 straight years now, ever since we lost as the 1 seed back in year 8 against the Rockets in the WCF. We have been the 2 seed every year since then. In the first round, we face off against the Rockets again. We fall down 3-2, and we come back and win games 6 and 7. A couple injuries, though, pop up in the midst of that series. Now we've got the Kings in round 2. We fall down 2-1, and the Kings take us down in 6 games. Had a couple minor injuries during that series, but Cubo Miller is absolutely carrying the Kings right now, over 34 points per game in the Western Conference Finals series. And they'll face off against the Blue Crabs, still looking for their first title, but here's their second chance. They lost in this same scenario a couple years ago to, I want to say it was the Pacers. No, that was the Thunder instead. They're in the same conference as the Pacers. It was the Thunder that won a couple years ago, but Blue Crabs back in their second finals appearance, and this time around, they still lose in 6 games. The Kings win finally. Cubo Miller finally gets his ring. Long time coming, I think. Wow, he had amazing numbers shooting-wise. But we lost against the Kings. We were in the playoffs for 2 rounds. Kylan Moore averaged 26 and 12. He did miss 3 games in this playoff run. I think that was during that series against the Kings. He ended up shooting pretty darn well. Cobb shot very well, put up 25, 6, and 5. Banchero played pretty well. Dennis shot the ball absolutely lights out. In fact, nobody for us played poorly here in the playoffs. We just, I guess, could not play defense, I'm assuming. We did see our backup point guard, Andre Lewis, shoot very poorly. Same goes for Ron Holland. Luka now retires as a Nugget out of all teams. Crazy one for him to retire too. Darius Garland, Brandon Ingram, a couple other players like Jalen Green, who was on our team this season, but was not getting a whole lot of action. They are all done. I'm keeping my eye out for Dylan Young here soon, although he is probably only like 30 years old by this stage. But I'll check up on him whenever he retires to see where his career ended up going after he left us back in the beginning of year 10, essentially. Luka got 2 different retirement jerseys, the Clippers and the Mavericks. David Dennis still somehow improving. So is Maurice Mullen at 33 years old, but now the first real sign of decline for John Cobb, at least in terms of the attributes. He hits or takes a -1 hit, mainly because he's losing some of that physical ability at 33 years old. He is getting up there in age, but is still on a massive deal, still a 95 overall. Just get this guy the rock and he will make things happen still. In the 2038-2039 season, we reacquired Gabe Hayes and gave up some guy from Italy, I think. His last name's Palermo. But we get Gabe Hayes back after a year away from the team, essentially. So he's back on the team, but no other real moves being made this year. We're past the trade deadline now. A 42-13 record. We are playing some very high-level basketball. Ep Miller is now in Golden State. He signed with them in the offseason right after winning a title with the Kings. So, interesting career change for him. Kylan Moore, third place in front court Western Conference voting. John Cobb, I believe, is going to make it, but this might be the final time that he actually does. He's now at only 19 points per game. We close year 14 with our first ever 60-win season, going 61-21 with back-to-back MVPs now for Kylan Moore. This year, he put up even more points per game at 28, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks, shot even better from 3. I think that's a career high from 3 at 38%. And he surpasses John Cobb now for most MVPs on the team. Chance Purdue now over in Minnesota, wins 6th Player of the Year. That's well-deserved. And we just got the 1 seed for the first time, as the Nets just won 70 games. The Nets are incredible, and they are one of our bitter rivals here in the series. Kylan Moore makes the All-NBA first team, as you might expect, but I think he's the only one that's going to make it for the Aztecs for, like the 4th straight year. I think Cobb has not made it since we have ceded control to the CPU. But he is once again part of the all-defensive first team. So he is racking up an incredible career. But yeah, so we have the 1 seed now, and we had an 8-game lead over Golden State. So Ep Miller is still over here in the Western Conference. The Kings are still good without him. They're 52-30, so we'll see if that ends up coming to fruition in terms of that matchup being a key player in the rest of the playoff run. But this year, Kylan Moore, we saw his numbers. John Cobb does end up getting to 20 points again, so pretty much the exact same year that he had a year ago. But he and Moore definitely experienced more injuries this season. David Dennis was fully healthy all year long, shot the ball at a very efficient clip, but just not getting a lot of touches, and the touches for Kylan Moore keep going up because he's that good. That's why his numbers seemingly keep getting better as the year goes on. So in round 1 of the playoffs, we face off against the Portland Trail Blazers. Couple injuries here, and we overcome them and win in 7 games. Facing off against the Lakers here in round 2, and we lose Kylan Moore again in the postseason to a left hand fracture. We lose the MVP. He was hurt for a couple games in last year's run, and now he's hurt again, and he's definitely done for the rest of the postseason this time around. Despite winning MVP again, us having the 1 seed, now we're looking to John Cobb, Dennis, even Paolo Banchero to carry the load for us the rest of the way. Banchero has been banged up a lot this year. Now we have Game 7 against the Lakers, and we move on again. We've won Game 7 in back-to-back series. We face off against Ep Miller and the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. They win Game 1 and 2. John Cobb back to full health. We win 3 straight games, lose another player to injury, and we end up taking them down behind John Cobb. This storyline, this narrative is actually kind of insane. John Cobb ends up going from 20 points per game in the regular season for the last couple seasons, and now puts up over 27 with the injury to Kylan Moore. 7 rebounds, 4 assists, the shooting splits off the charts, perfect free throw percentage, shot 55%, 49 from downtown, and he leads us to another matchup against the Brooklyn Nets. This right now might be my favorite epilogue, final episode long terms that I've ever done because of so many different things happening. First, we had David Dennis kind of losing his job in the playoffs a couple years ago. We ended up losing against the Nets in the rematch of the Year 7 finals. And now we have our third matchup against them in the NBA Finals after taking down Kibu Miller of all players in the Western Conference Finals while missing Kylan Moore, who's done for the rest of our season. So it's going to be up to Cobb, Dennis, Mullen, Banchero to continue to, lead us and battle for this finals. The Nets take game 1 by 22 points. They take game 2 by 6 points. Both teams are the 1 seeds, by the way, but of course, us missing our best player gonna make things very difficult. Nets up 3-0, and we're in danger of getting swept, man. They just have our number. We can't beat these guys. The Nets win in 4. They sweep us behind Vic Pollard, 25-6-4. Shot the ball very well. This Brooklyn team, who do they even have? They got Julian Turner. They've still got Zach Webb. They got Vic Pollard. They got Bronny James now, Stephon Mason, Doug Gordon. A lot of players that we don't really know about anymore, but they still got those core players like Turner and Zach Webb. I think Pollard was on this team for quite a long time as well, or for the last couple years. But we saw him. Oh, he was on this team earlier. Yeah, he was on this team back when we were still watching against them. So that's kind of cool. He came back to Brooklyn and now wins the title with them and wins Finals MVP. But it came against us. So there's that too. We have now lost to Brooklyn 3 separate times in the NBA Finals. We now have a negative record in the Finals, 2-3, 2 titles, 3 Finals losses. John Cobb put up 28-6-4 here in the playoff run. Kylan Moore 25-12, but got injured and only played 9 of our 24 games in the playoffs. Dennis shot the ball very well, but again, a lot of the shots went to John Cobb and Moore when he was out there. Banchero shot 38%. Definitely a big step down from last year. And now he has retired after 16 pro seasons, 35 years old. He closes the door on his career and exits just like Tatum did, a Duke player that ends his career with the Aztecs in unfortunate fashion, losing in the playoffs. Taylor Hendricks also retires. Zion's gone after playing for Baltimore the last year and change. So, there you go. No more decline really, though, for any of our star players this time around. So, I mean, John Cobb's peak has been a long peak. The actual stats won't show it, but in terms of the attributes at least, not a lot of regression so far, and he's reaching his mid-30s. So we'll keep an eye on that. Wow, and after a great start to our next season, Kylan Moore tears his left meniscus. Injuries have been screwing this guy in the peak of his career so far. This is actually really sad to see. He's going to miss a couple months. Now, a couple weeks later, John Cobb's broken his right leg. What are we doing here, man? Both players now fully back to health here in the middle of December, but after losing to both guys, we have a sub-500 record as of right now. If they can stay healthy, I think we have good odds to get over the hump and get back into the playoff hunt. Literally, like 10 seconds later, he breaks his right foot. These guys don't want to see Kylan Moore win another MVP or get a third title. They're screwing us over. The Grim Reaper has come for the Aztecs now. What is happening? And he strained his left MCL. What did he do to piss off the basketball gods? How in God's name is he fully healthy 2 weeks later, man? He's back. We're gonna be okay, I think. Unless our stars keep getting injured. Because of the injuries, nobody made the All-Star game this year for the Aztecs, but we did trade away Maurice Mullen in exchange for Robert Dillingham and Javon Sims. So Mullen, after several years in good service with the Aztecs, now finds himself over in Philadelphia. That was also right after re-signing Mullen to a 3-year, $63 million deal. We also once again extended David Dennis with a 4-year, $139 million deal. making a final push to make the playoffs here. We're actually in line for a non-play-in tournament seed here, despite only being a couple games over 500. Seeing there's so many injuries pop up this year for our star players. John Cobb has missed about half the season with these injuries, and we just lost out on a playoff seed at the very end. No, we actually got number 6 at the very end. Cuban Miller wins his second MVP. First time with the Warriors. And we probably got nothing here. And I doubt we had any All-NBA appearances because of all the injuries. I don't think our guys qualify for a spot this time around. And it looks like that is the case. We end up as the final playoff seed. 12 games back from the conference-leading Warriors, again led by Miller. The Kings have been great without him, by the way, but he has still been amazing for his new team. In terms of how many games players missed, just look at this real quick. 44 games only for Kylan Moore, 67 for Cobb, but Dennis played in every game this season. So injuries the last couple years have significantly hindered our ability to get the most out of this team. And both of our star players are going through it right now. Kylan Moore puts up 26 and 10. Would have made the All-Star game if he would have had enough games under his belts. John Cobb, 21, 7 and 4. David Dennis, who started almost all of the games this year, 13 and 7. And should still be our starting point guard, and he is at 88 overall at this stage in his career. We face the Mavericks in round 1. And in round 1, we beat them in 6 games. We face off against the Kings. In round 2, we get Kylan Moore back to full health entering game 6 while trailing. And we win both games. Now Cobb's at full health. Now it's us against the Clippers, and we beat them as well to reach the NBA Finals. Kylan Moore, WCF MVP. Look what this team can do when fully healthy. The blueprint, by the way, look at that three-point number. 57% from downtown. That's the best across any playoff series in his career, no doubt about that. Don't tell me it's the Nets again. It is the Nets again. Don't tell me that we're going to lose a 4th NBA Finals to the same team. This is, although kind of a late rivalry, it might overtake the Rockets if we can somehow find a way to claw our way back. And guess it's not really much of a rivalry right now because they have our number. But if we can win this one, that would go a long way. But as the 6th seed, we have reached the finals. We finally have our team at full health. So it is time to see if we can put the pieces together to finally come out on top of the Brooklyn Nets. They are the 1 seed. They take game 1. They blew us out by 32. That's not a good sign. Game 2, they beat us by 7. This is going the exact same way as a year ago. Game 3, we win by 21 points. Game 4, and we tie the series up. Back-to-back 20-point wins. Now we go back to Brooklyn for Game 5, and they hold their own, outscoring us by 22. It's just been, blowout after blowout in this series. Game 6 in Mexico City, backs against the wall, and we force a Game 7 again. So we saw this in year 11. That was the 2nd time facing this team. And now we have a chance for our 3rd title, another Game 7. We'll jump in late if it's close. We'll sim up until then, though, with Simcast. Very high scoring game, very back and forth, very neck and neck. But Brooklyn trying to jump ahead here in the 3rd quarter. They're holding on to a lead. We're falling behind. Gotta make some headway here soon. 4th quarter has to be ours. But it looks like Brooklyn is just too good to overcome again. And we're going to lose by 20 points. We get blown out again in Game 7. The Brooklyn Nets have beat us 2 years in a row and now 4 total times and 4 total matchups. Doug Gordon is your finals MVP. And they just have a cracked team. They've got Scotty Beal, Doug Gordon, Vic Pollard, Zach Webb, a really nasty trio of players. Bronny off the bench. Yeah, this team is just too good to beat right now. We are one of their rivals, but it's a bit one-sided right now. And with how much time we have left to see the careers of these players unfold, it's going to be hard for us to make up that ground. These were the playoff stats for the Aztecs. We got Cobb and Moore and Dennis for all 26 games, but for a couple of those, Moore and Cobb were shaken up. But they were fully healthy for that entire final series. Both guys with very similar stat lines overall. Both guys put up less than 24 points per game. Rebounding, pretty good. Defense was pretty solid. They both shot the ball very well. Dennis puts up about 13, 3, and 7 again. But players like Stevie Cardinal, Dillingham, and Javon Sims, and Nikola Jovic all let our stars down. It was not our stars' fault that we lost again against Brooklyn. Looks like John Morant and Melo Ball, Tyrese Halliburton, Scotty Barnes, Evan Mobley have all retired. But nobody else that really matters a whole lot to us. And now we have regression, not only for John Cobb, but also Kylan Moore and David Dennis in their early 30s. The team was already on the decline in the regular season because of the injury bug that was going around all year long. We made up for it by making the finals again, but after back-to-back finals losses and losing our last 3 appearances, all of which came against Brooklyn, now we're going to see our veteran players, our favorite players, start to regress a bit from here. We'll see if they can keep up this play and give us one more chance at a title, but it's going to be a lot more difficult if we can't make the right signings around them. We've got Cam Christie back on the team, by the way, headed into year 16. Year 16 has been a strange year. We're currently 28 and 27, but look how streaky we have been all year long. We lost a lot of our early games, like just mostly red L's on the screen, then a big winning streak in December, then a losing streak right after that, going back into winning most of our games with the very rare, very unoften injuries this season. And now we are around 500 and 8th in the conference. In terms of transactions that we have made this season, we once again extend Kylan Moore, but on a much cheaper deal than we are used to. Last time it was like 4 years, 285, now it's about $100 million less. But no trades for us, I don't think, this season, and that holds true. And it looks like, despite the numbers being very low for both of our players after regression, they're both still going to make the All-Star game here in 2040. And now in late March, an injury to David Dennis. I mean, he's been healthy for a long time now, and he just broke his left ankle, his first injury since even before we gave control back to the CPU. So we'll see where this takes us now. And now we lose John Cobb to a torn left calf muscle. In the last week of the season, the injury bug just wants to screw us over. We're going to be a play-in tournament team. Hubu Miller having another incredible season. He wins MVP for a 3rd time with some incredible numbers across the board. Looks like our time in the spotlight might be over here. We're a play-in tournament team. We had only Kylan Moore make an All-NBA team. He made the All-Defensive second team. But now we are a play-in tournament team as the 9 seed. Despite pretty much the same record as a year ago. So just a bit more competition this season. Warriors only 54 wins, enough to win the conference. And now we got to see if we can make the playoffs or if our streak of playoff appearances is going to come to an end after like a decade straight, essentially, of making the playoffs. Or maybe a bit over a decade now that we've simmed so much. But play-in tournament time. We beat Denver. We're going to face Wemby and the Spurs here in the game for the 7 seed. And we get knocked out. I guess that was the game for the 8 seed. So we're out of the playoffs. We lose against the Spurs. In this game, we just got killed by 18 points, 25 plus for 3 different Spurs players. And Cobb did not even play because he was hurt. Dennis also missed this game. It was only Kylan Moore plus guys that we don't know that were out there. And we failed to make the playoffs for the first time since, I want to say year 3 maybe of the series. Maybe that was year 2. We have not missed it very often, that's for sure. So, player stats on the year. Nobody even got to 20 points per game. Kylan Moore got a lot less playing time than he is used to. And we lost Cobb to injury at the end of the season. We lost Dennis to injury as well. And it looks like these guys are going to reach the twilight of their careers now. All probably just a couple years away from retirement. The Spurs just took down Golden State in 5 in round 1 to upset the 1 seed. And the Nets are back in the finals against the Clippers. And they sweep them. They've won 3 in a row. This is the worst timeline. Player retirements. Anybody of note here that we really care about? I'm looking for... Well, there's Gabe Hayes. He played for us for a couple years after we gave control to the CPU. But it looks like nobody else that we really know is here. Regression continues for Cobb, Moore, and Dennis. Kylan Moore has lost -3 the last 2 years now. Cobb is regressing slower. So is Dennis. We also just brought in Salaun and Bronny James. David Dennis, broken left foot here in the middle of year 17. And we are once again around 500. And I highly doubt that we had any All-Stars. But let's see about the transactions this season. And it looks like we made a trade or two. We re-signed John Cobb to a 2-year, $73 million deal. So probably expect him to retire between now and the end of that deal. Otherwise, no other big moves made by us. And in terms of the All-Star voting in 2041, I highly doubt that we made it at all. And actually, maybe we did. Cobb and Moore both having better years than a year ago. I'm not sure if we've changed coaches. I have not checked any of the coaching at all, really, since I began simming. I'm kind of curious what our staff looks like right now. We've got all bonus staff. We still have Horace James Jr. as the head coach. So we have been bringing him back. And he's been here the entire time still. Last week of the season, we're going to finish below 500 for the first time in a long time. 40-42 record. 3 straight MVPs for Kibu Miller. So he's going to make the Hall of Fame easy. The Nets are still great. That's unfortunate for us. And nobody made the All-NBA teams for the Aztecs for the first time in a while. We do end up, though, with the 7 seed here. So if we just win 1 game, we'll be a playoff team. 12 games back from the 52-win Kings who won the conference. But we are steadily but surely going down. How do we fare here in the play-in tournament? We win the first game against Minnesota, led by 19 points from Victor Bell, who is 32 years old, and I guess one of our point guards. John Cobb, 17, Dennis, 15, Kylan Moore, a double-double. And now we face Kibu Miller and the Warriors in round 1. And in this round, we lose game 1 and game 2, and we lose in 5, with game 3 being the only victory. It's not too surprising a result. Rest of the playoffs, it's going to be Warriors-Bulls in the finals. So the Bulls trying to get their first ring since the Michael Jordan era. And they come back. Was that a 3-1 deficit or was that 3-0? I got to check that. Blake Leaf, your finals MVP. Though I'm not really sure how with these numbers. Those are not very good at all for shooting. But in this series, the Warriors won game 1 and game 2. They went up 3-1 and they blew it, just like in 2016. These were the season stats, by the way, this year for the Aztecs. Pretty well-rounded scoring for the team. But John Cobb definitely took a step back here, only shooting 45% this time, which is good for a lot of players, but for him it's definitely lower than we're used to. Kylan Moore at 22 and 9, so rebounds going down, playing time still below 30 minutes. They were mostly healthy this year. They missed a couple of games each. Dennis averaged 10 and 7 and shot only 44%. In the playoffs, though, shooting was hard to come by. Moore did not shoot very well, put up 23 and 9. Cobb put up 18, 4 and 4, shot 44%. Dennis shot better at 48, but did not score as much. Averaged 7 points per game, 7 assists per game. More player retirements. Anthony Edwards done after 21 seasons. Asar Thompson, Salaun, and Bronny both retire after 17 years apiece. Cam Christie played for us for quite some time. He's done after 17 seasons. Looking for Mullen, and I'm looking for Dylan Young. There's Dylan Young. After 14 years, at 34 years old, he chooses to retire as a member of the OKC Thunder. So what did he do after we gave him away to Golden State in that swap for Gabe Hayes? Well, he finished that year putting up about 11, 4 and 3. That makes sense for him. But after that, shooting definitely took a step back, and Golden State averaged only 8 and 5, 3 assists per game, and shot worse in every phase of the game. Then he went to Atlanta a year later and 35-36 and played even worse. Then barely played at all the following year and got traded from Cleveland to Milwaukee. Then signed in the offseason with the Grizzlies and put up about 9 points per game, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Went to play for Utah in a very low volume role. And then before this past year, his last playing time was in Charlotte. He did not play at all this past year for OKC, but was still a part of the roster. And now he's done. In the end, he did average 9 points per game, 4 rebounds, 3 assists per game, about half a steal, half a block per game, 45% from the field, 31 from downtown, 74 at the line, averaged about 22 minutes per game, a 0.6 plus minus per game, so good to be over 0 for that. But he was a role player through and through. I think he had a pretty high ceiling with that high athleticism and high speed and high physicality, but never quite went past the player that he was when he was a rookie. So gotta, I guess, tip your cap to him for making his career last this long when you pretty much don't go past your skill level after 1 year in the NBA, but he still made the most of what he could do when he played. So congrats, but he's done. Aggression continues to hit big time, and really it's the physicals that are going down that are really affecting, I think, the longevity of these players. Like, Cobb has been going down a lot in this category, but now he and Moore are both at D-. Dennis down to D. That's going to mean more injuries and longer durations in terms of recovery. But all three guys taking pretty big shots here. No! I had a feeling something happened. 2042, we traded Kylan Moore for Luke Hunt. Are you kidding me? We traded Kylan Moore, the multi-MVP winner, multi-finals MVP winner, our best player for years and years, for another like 86 overall small forward. What are we even doing? What does our starting five look like right now? Cobb is in there. Dennis still in there. He's not even starting. What have we done? We have a 78 overall center. Why did we trade Kylan Moore? No. We're on track to be a playoff team. But what the hell, man? We just gave up on him. He's 34 years old, putting up 17 points per game, over 8 rebounds per game. He is not shooting very well, but he was coming off a bounce-back season. And now he's over in Detroit after 14 years with the Aztecs. It's showing some of these years twice for some reason, but he's played for us for 14, really 15 seasons. And now he's over somewhere else in the opposite conference. I hate that. John Cobb, though, did make the All-Star game, but only scored 2 points this season. Well, we're gonna be a playoff team, but we're gonna lose David. God, I hate this game. What is with the, final week injuries that just completely derail any of your hopes? Torn right MCL. Dennis is done. I was not even ready for them to bring this up. We end up going 46 and 36. I'm tired of Miller winning MVP. Let's just get past this. I'm sick of that guy. No awards for us at all. Brooklyn continues to be great. This is just, so many things have gone wrong. I was talking about earlier, this was like a really good and really interesting epilogue, but now I'm just getting upset at how everything is unfolding here. All NBA teams, nobody makes it for the Aztecs. All defensive first team, nobody. Damn. But we make it as the 4 seed, facing off against the Clippers in round 1. Detroit is a play-in tournament team. We'll sim that first and see if Kylan Moore is going to be in the playoffs. It looks like he will against the Brooklyn Nets. Honestly, I'm rooting for Detroit for a massive round 1 upset. We'll see if that actually happens. Golden State's the 1 seed over here in the West by a very wide margin. 14 games between them and the Pelicans, who are the 2 seed. But here were the regular season stats for the Aztecs. We're obviously missing Dennis, but Cobb put up 25 in around 4. Shot the ball pretty darn well. We were a pretty low-scoring team, it looks like, but pretty balanced scoring overall. We obviously traded more like halfway through our season, though, so that was part of why we're not seeing as much scoring here. Dennis averaged 10 and 7, definitely not shooting his best. That's going to be going down as his career goes on. But we traded Kylan Moore for Luke Hunt, who put up only 9 points per game, 6 rebounds per game. How? Why did we do this? We've also got Antonis Patatoglu, who we've seen before. He's now over here and having a okay season. But in the playoffs, round 1, and the Aztecs on track to win, and they do. They win in 5 games. We lose a couple players to injury. And Detroit has won 2 games against Brooklyn over in the top right. They force it game 7, and they lose, and then the Aztecs lose in round 2, getting swept by Miller and the Warriors. And they're back in the finals against the Brooklyn Nets. Dude, these guys are just relentless. They are relentless. But they lose finally. I would rather Miller win than the Brooklyn Nets at this point. So Miller is going to be one of the most decorated players we've ever seen in the channel's history, really, for like an outside player not from one of our teams. He's definitely probably like top 3 players of all time. For players not on one of our controlled teams. Oh, they swept us in the playoffs. Here is how we did. John Cobb once again just turned things up a notch, put up 25 and 7, or 25, 7 and 5. We did not have Dennis play because he tore his right MCL. So Cobb, the only guy that we actually care about, really. And a couple guys let him down, really. Hard to win when your point guard is no longer out there. In terms of Kylan Moore, he put up in the playoffs 12-7 and shot the ball very poorly. Is this year the end of one of our players' careers? Well, there's Jarris Walker, who played for us for quite some time. Now finds himself over with the Clippers. 38 years old. It's time for him to depart. And his career, was very consistent. Just a very slight decline, like very slight year after year. But I think his best years, it's not showing a lot of his years, which is really obnoxious to me. It's not showing some seasons for him, but played for OKC for quite a long time after we gave him to them. So he played for a lot of different teams, but now bows out here. Scoot Henderson finally done, but nobody for us. There goes Will McBride. It was same draft as David Dennis, so we'll be seeing Dennis here very shortly. But Cobb is the oldest one, and he is yet to retire. Only -1 regression for Cobb, but now at 38 years old, still a 90 overall, but he's down to F physicals. Dennis goes down by 3, and he is going to be a lot worse going forward at 35. Oh, hey, we brought back Mullen again on a 1-year deal. He's still like an 80 overall at 38 years old, but last couple years playing in Philadelphia, had one good year the first year that he was there fully, but since then has not shot the ball from the field quite as well, but is still a good 3-point sniper and free throw taker. In fact, and the free throw numbers, I just have yet to figure out swimming-wise. They're still way too high for the entire league. And over in Detroit, Kylan Moore loses 4 overall points. Yep, about that time. Oh, and here we go. Now, this could be a lie. They introduced a year too early, but John Cobb apparently right now plans to retire and is eligible for a farewell tour. First time seeing this for a player that I've drafted before, so this is really, really cool. I will, of course, allow the farewell tour. He is like a 90 overall, so he's still like a very impressively good player at 38. Approaching the All-Star game here in year 19. I have seen nothing about Dennis. I have a feeling he's either gone or not getting playing time. We're 3 games over 500. In terms of transactions, we did not trade him. We re-signed Cobb to another 1-year deal. This time $22 million. Dennis should still be on the team. Is he even playing, though? He's not our starting point guard any longer. And yeah, the league is definitely getting kind of watered down with all the talent. Dennis is playing off our bench now, 11 minutes per game this season. Nobody in the All-Star game, but Miller has literally led All-Star voting in the Western Conference for the last, 10 straight seasons. Just completely absurd. Kylan Moore also not in the All-Star game. The Aztecs closed the year going 38-44. Kibu Miller. Again, what is this, 5 straight years now? This is getting a little ridiculous. The Nets are still like the best team. This hurts. Every time I see it, it hurts. And we have nobody in any of the All-NBA teams at all. Not even Kylan Moore. John Cobb played 75 games this year, but was only the 4th highest scorer on the team, putting up 15, 5 and 3 on 44% from the fields. David Dennis, 15 minutes per game, played in 57 games, 5 points per game, 4 assists, 42% shooting. And that means that we are the number 9 seed, so another play-in tournament season, and we lost the first game against the Pelicans. So we're done. We're out. The Pistons are not a playoff team either. They also lost in the play-in tournament. And we'll check up on Kylan Moore's closing last couple year stats once he retires. But this season, somebody's got to beat Brooklyn, please. The Cavaliers beat them in 5. The Warriors are back in the finals, led by Miller again. It's Warriors-Cavaliers. Wow, what a throwback. We're in 2043, so nearly 3 decades removed from their year-by-year bounce here in the finals. And the Cavaliers win in 7, led by Dustin Miller, the last first overall pick that we were really in that detailed season for. 2043, could this be the time? Yes, it is. John Cobb is the first of our players to retire. A couple other well-known names that we can see down here. We'll check on those guys. But first, John Cobb, 18 years in the NBA, 39 years old, and goes out, I would say, with a really, really good career, even despite some regression. He really put together an impressive career, even when he was not at his best. Was always a good free throw shooter, always a good three-point shooter. Just shot a bit worse from the field as the times went on. But overall, I mean, a very impressive career. 18 seasons as a 6th overall pick from 2025. And in the end, he averages over 21 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, 4 assists per game, more than 1 steal per game, a bit less than 1 block per game. Started like 99% of games throughout his career, shot 47% and 40% from downtown, 94 at the line, 30 minutes a game, plus minus a 3.4. That's a really high number. Scored over 30,000 points, over 5,500 assists, 10,000 field goals made, over 4,400 threes made, more than 5,700 free throws. Started 1,359 games, played in 1,425 games. 146 double-doubles, 4 triple-doubles. What was his career high in points, if they're going to let me see that? Game highs. 57 in his career, not including the playoffs. 41 this past season. 13 threes made in a game is his career high. 20 free throws. 15 rebounds. 11 assists in 1 game. 6 steals, 5 blocks. What a career for Cobb. He's going to make the Hall of Fame. We'll see his overall awards there too. But in case we don't, for some reason, here is a preview. 11 All-Star appearances, 1 MVP, 2 titles, 1 first-team All-NBA, 2 second-team All-NBA, and 2 third-team All-NBA. The twin brother of David Dennis, Leonard Dennis, has retired. So Dennis is still going to go, or David is going to go for 1 more year probably. Leonard here retires with only 1 award, a second-team All-Rookie, which is pretty easy to get if you're starting, which I believe he was in his first season. He ended his career with Portland after spending a lot of time in LA after a couple of different, pretty much 4 years of being on different teams after leaving Orlando. So, bit of a weird career for him, but he found a home in LA and stayed there for quite some time until the end, where he played for Portland, where he played there like a decade before this anyways. So, point guard Dan George, who we matched up against a couple different times, also retired at 90 overall. Melo Keels retired. We thought about drafting him, but chose Dylan Young instead. He retires over in Miami. We've also got Floyd Sampson, Griffin Isley, and Harrison Sally, the bane of my existence. And he played for the Warriors. He goes out. Well, he had a ring last year, not this year exactly, but played for Atlanta for a long time after being in Brooklyn for a couple of years where they beat us. But played for Atlanta, 3 different stints with the Hawks, the last of which was the longest one, and then finished with Golden State, losing in the finals. And rightfully so, as I said, John Cobb makes the Hall of Fame, our first Hall of Famer. We're probably going to have only 2, but points per game, we saw this. The overall awards, outside of what we already talked about, had that one all-rookie first team, but that's the only additional one that we did not already look at. Dan George also makes the Hall of Fame, putting up about 19 points per game, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 10 All-Star appearances, 3 second-team and third-team All-NBA team appearances. So, great career for both players. They both go out at 38 years old, or Cobb's 39, but both guys around the same age, played for about as long as each other, and they go out at the same exact time. So goodbye, John Cobb. It's the last we're going to see of him in the series and the episode. So 2 players, maybe 3 if Mullen retires. But obviously, retirements for jerseys. Cobb's going to get his. He played for the Aztecs for his whole career. They got 2 different year stretches there, but he played for his entire career in Mexico City from 2025 all the way until now. He was the first ever draft pick and never left, despite my choice to not interfere after we start this long-term sim. So he played for us for every year of his career, all 18 seasons. Number 8 is now retired. God, this team looks completely different now. We have another star at center, Ronnie Waters, 26 years old, 18 badges. And, I mean, he's kind of like a true center. He's not really shooting threes a whole lot. But in terms of guys left, David Dennis no longer on the roster. I got to find out where he went. Kylan Moore still on the Pistons. Goes down by 4 more this year. He's probably going to be done here in another year or 2, I would have to assume. As of right now, David Dennis is actually a free agent at 36 years old. After leaving the Aztecs after 17, or I guess it's 16 seasons, he's able to be signed, but I'm not sure he will be. Moving on to the following off season, and Mullen and Dennis have both retired. Kylan Moore still out there, but Mullen and Dennis part of the same retirement class as Wembanyama here in 2044. So Mullen played for 19 years. He's 40 years old. Still could probably play if he wanted to. In fact, he's coming off a pretty solid shooting year. In fact, he played for us. I guess we gave him away last year after I mentioned that we had re-signed him. We once again shipped him off for the second time. Just insane. Both times after signing him to a new contract, which is kind of insane. So trust was lost there. But he ends up in his career scoring about 11.6 points per game, 3 rebounds per game, 3 assists per game, 46% from the field, about 40% rounding up from downtown, 88, 89% at the line of scrimmage, and came off the bench and started plenty of games throughout his time, a positive plus-minus over 16,000 points. So, really good player. Yeah, he pretty much split time as a starter and a backup at his career. 700 starts and 1,400 games played. Only 8 double-doubles. No triple-doubles. And that's it. He's done. And then we have David Dennis. Man, he's a very similar player to Jovanovic in the sense that he does not have any awards, but he was such a dynamic glue player for us that was consistent and could be relied on for some big moments and for some big games if shots weren't falling for other players that were getting the higher volume. And he did end up signing with the Knicks this past season, but barely played for them hardly at all. In fact, took 0 free throws last year despite getting some action, so he was definitely barely out there, only for a few minutes, I would assume. But played for us for 17 of 18 years. He'll definitely get number 1 retired, you would have to assume. But he ends up averaging about 15 points per game, 2.6 rebounds, over 7 assists per game, 1 steal per game, 48% shooting in his career, 39% from downtown, at 94 at the line of... Did I say scrimmage last time? It's definitely the charity stripe, not line of scrimmage. That's for football. Apologize if I did say that. 3.6 plus minus per game, nearly 19,000 points, nearly 9,000 assists, over 1,000 steals. Yeah, this guy was great, man. He had a lot of big moments. Started a game shy of 1,200 games. Played in over 1,200 games, but started almost all of them. 170 double-doubles, 0 triple-doubles. But that was his career. His career high for everything was 47 points in a game. 15 field goals made, 8 three-pointers made, 14 free throws, 10 rebounds, career high, with 18 dimes being his career high. Mullen's career highs look like this, by the way. 48 was his peak in terms of points, 17 field goals made, 80 three-pointers made, or 10, Jesus. 14 free throws made, 11 boards, 13 assists, 5 steals, 4 blocks. Oh, and look at this. Dion Houston also retires this season as a Raptor. So he's finally done. He had 18 dimes in one game. Good lord. But he ends up as a Raptor. After starting his career with Houston, he would go on to play for Phoenix for quite some time, getting multiple extensions, and then playing in Portland for 1 year. But his numbers took a pretty big dive after the 2041 season. His last 2 years in Phoenix were not the best, and that's when he chose to head elsewhere. But this guy was a good and great player for a while. Really kind of got shafted being the backup behind Frank Bauer for a long time, but he made the most of it, turned that into a big contract with Phoenix, and then started for them for quite some time. Any awards for him? He won a title in 2032. Or did he? I thought we won that year. But anyways, had 7 All-Star appearances, 2 second-team All-NBA appearances, won Sixth Man of the Year 3 times, 3 years in a row with Houston, and also made first-team All-Rookie in 2028. And one last player as part of this class, Braden McCaw. I've not talked or thought about him for a couple seasons now, but he retires after 15 years pro. He actually kind of turned things into a solid career as a role player. Played for a lot of teams, got traded 3 out of the last 4 years that he was in the NBA. And, ended up averaging 9 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, 2 assists. Shooting splits, though, got off to a slow start, never quite recovered. Wemby and Dion Houston make the Hall of Fame. I'm kind of surprised by Houston making it, but also, like, 7 All-Stars. That's hard to pass up. At 36 years old, Kylan Moore, still regressing, is now on the Blue Crabs as a backup behind Dylan Turner. And it seems like Frank Bauer plans to retire this year, although nothing pops up for Kylan Moore. We'll see if he still does retire this season. By the way, we did not retire number 1 for David Dennis, despite him playing for us for like 17 years. Come on, guys. We are now up to 2045, and there he is. Kylan Moore has retired, along with a lot of players that we have come to know throughout the series, like Deion York. He's done after 20 seasons. Andrew Lee's done after 18 seasons. Both guys played for Utah for the first couple years of this series. Joey Daniels is done. Marquise White, Ryan Abdul-Kareem, who played for the Nets a couple times where they beat us. Dylan Turner. So a lot of guys retire here. I'm probably going to stop once I see Kibu Miller and Frank Bauer. Might be another year or two, but between now and then. But we'll go through Kylan Moore's first 18 years. Retires as a Blue Crab. We traded him back in 2041, 2042. He played for us for a long time, man. In his career, he averaged 20 points per game, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1.6 blocks, 45% from the field, 34 from downtown, 94 at the free throw line. Started the bulk of his career, 4.7 plus minus, higher than Cobb's 3.4, I believe it was. And yeah, over 27,000 points, over 12,000 rebounds. So, I mean, yeah, over 2,000 blocks, 1,300 steals. How many double-doubles did he have? 547 double-doubles. Only had a 1 triple-double. And started 1,309 games out of 1,351. But 547 double-doubles is absolutely unreal. We should be seeing his full award list in the Hall of Fame screen. But in case we don't, we'll go over that real quick. Game highs, by the way. 70 points in a game. 24 field goals made. 10 three-pointers made. 25 free throws. 24 rebounds. 13 assists. 6 steals. 8 blocks. Those are all of his career high by game metrics. In terms of the awards, 2-time NBA champ, 9-time All-Star, 2-time MVP, 2-time Finals MVP, 4-time first-team All-NBA, 3-time second-team All-NBA. They get a couple third teams in there, plus a couple of all-defensive first and second teams, plus the all-rookie first team. So, a lot more awards than what we saw right there. How about Andrew Lee? He's probably going to make the Hall of Fame with its 6 All-Star appearances and a 1 All-Team appearance. But also, this is like a fringe player, I think, to make it. After he left Utah, played for Portland for quite some time, then Baltimore and Cleveland. And overall, I mean, his shooting splits were very, very good. He scored quite a bit, 16, 5, and 5. Yeah, pretty darn good. Over 22,000 points scored. But how about Dion York? Finishing his career as a Bull after 19 years in Utah, and he won MVP a lot of times, averaging over 23 points per game, 9 rebounds per game, 4 assists per game. He was the best player in the league for like 5-6 straight seasons. Shot the ball very well across the board. It's one of the best overall careers you'll see from an auto-gen player. 33,000 points. He was the first overall pick of the entire series in the same draft as John Cobb. Over 14,000 rebounds, nearly 2,000 blocks. He had 1,458 starts, only played off the bench twice in his career, 703 double-doubles, 10 triple-doubles. Just absolutely insane. His plus-minus per game was only 0.9, surprisingly. And this dude had, like, probably the best career that I've seen in a long time on any game, any series. 14 All-Star appearances. 14. 4 first-team All-NBA. 5 second-team All-NBA. 4 third-team All-NBA. I forget how many awards Mac Boyd had in total. I don't think he had 14 All-Stars, though. I think he had probably like 10 or 11 or 12. But I don't think he had 14. That is insane. That's not even showing all the awards. It's not showing his MVPs at all. So I guess we'll go check that here soon. It's only Dion York and Kylan Moore this season to make the Hall of Fame. Andrew Lee does not make it. But here were the rest of their awards. Obviously, York had more than Kylan Moore. He had... Wait, he had 0 MVPs? Are we sure about that? I thought he won a couple MVPs. Maybe he was just always in the running, but never quite won it. I know Bauer won several. I'm shocked that York never won it. I thought he did. But 4 third-team All-NBAs, 1 All-Defensive First Team, 4 All-Defensive Second Team, 1 Rookie of the Year, and All-Rookie First Team. Kylan Moore had 1 All-NBA Third Team, 4 All-Defense First Teams, and 5 All-Defense Second Teams. Just completely dominant in the paint for both of these players. And they're both retired here in 2045. That means that both guys get their numbers retired in Utah and Mexico City. Here we go. Frank Bauer plans to retire. He's going to get that farewell tour. Not sure about Kibu Miller, though. We're in 2046, and Frank Bauer and Zach Webb both have retired. So is Darius Williams. But still no Kibu Miller. This guy needs to retire soon. I'm getting tired. But Frank Bauer retires as a Net, but spent like 95% of his career over in Houston, as we know. 20 full years in the NBA as a first overall pick back in 2026. Same draft as David Dennis. 19.6 points per game, 9 rebounds per game, 6 assists, 1 steal, 1.5 block, 45% from the field, 38 from downtown, 90 at the line. A plus-minus of 3.3 over 30,000 points, 14,000 rebounds, 10,000 assists. This guy was a machine on both ends and a good passer. He ends up starting 1,480 games out of 1,566. 740 double-doubles, 115 triple-doubles. Absolutely insane. And we'll see his awards here in a moment. His career highs look like this: 51 points, 16 field goals, 10 threes, 22 free throws, 25 rebounds, 17 dimes, 5 steals, 7 blocks. So we'll see his full awards here in a moment. Zach Webb, after 19 years, retires a Cavalier. 55 points, his career high. This guy gave us quite some problems. Won 4 titles with Brooklyn. MVP in the first one they won. And no, that was... I thought he won more than 4 titles. I'm pretty sure he won before 2035. Because we lost against them. But it's not showing up there. But regardless, 1 Finals MVP, 9 All-Stars, 2 second-team All-NBAs. And he put up in his career 18 points per game, 6 rebounds, about 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, rounding up, 48% from the field, 38 downtown, 94 at the line. Plus minus a 3.3 on average. He had how many starts? 1154 out of 1320 games played. 230 double-doubles, 4 triple-doubles. And then Darius Williams played for Miami the last several years after a long career in Washington where he won multiple MVPs. 25 points per game, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, over 1 steal a game. Nearly 50% in his career from the field, over 40% from behind the arc, over 90% from downtown, or at the line rather. One of the best shooting splits you'll ever see for a whole career. Might be the best, I really don't know for sure. But he did have a negative overall plus minus in terms of the average per game, which is kind of shocking. Over 35,000 points scored, 9,900 assists, a lot of steals. He started 1,343 games and only came off the bench in 20 or 41 of those full games played. 312 double-doubles, 19 triple-doubles. And deservedly so, all 3 of these guys make the Hall of Fame here in 2046. Here are, oh my god, Frank Bauer, dude, what? I didn't realize it was 17 All-Stars. That's now the highest number. I thought 14 was high for Deion York. Bauer, 17 All-Star appearances, won 2 MVPs, won 6th Man of the Year, only got 1 title after they beat us in the WCF back in year 8. 1 Finals MVP, 8 All-NBA first-team appearances, 5 All-NBA second teams, 3 All-NBA third teams, 3 defensive first teams, 7 defensive second teams. Also got Rookie of the Year and All-Rookie first team. Darius Williams, Rookie of the Year, rookie first team, 1 all-defense second team, 1 third-team All-NBA, 3 second-team All-NBAs, 9 All-NBA first teams, 13 All-Star appearances, 2 MVPs. So that's probably at least 3 players that had better careers, I would say, in terms of the awards at least, than our best players did. So that's actually a very different wrinkle that I was not really expecting a whole lot, but there were some great players. We still have one more in Miller who's going to make it 4, but Zach Webb, 9 All-Stars. We saw the 4 titles, which I think is still inaccurate. Maybe it's not. I really don't know, because he was on that team that beat us. Maybe he wasn't on one of those last teams that beat us. I think he wasn't on the team that swept us, or that beat us in 7 when we were the 60. But regardless, still a very impressive career for him. And all 3 guys enter the history books. And now it seems like it might be Miller's time. And Miller's going to be the last player that we look at the final career stats for. Then we'll move on to a brief overview of the team history, page, and the team record books. And then we'll close it out after that, everybody. So we're almost there. Advancing ahead now to 2047. And where is Kibu Miller? Unless he's further down on this list, but I don't think he is. He's still in the league, man. Why? If you're curious about Kylan Johnson, who was a 2030 first overall pick, he did finish his career as a net, which is where he was drafted, but played for the Pacers and Toronto after Brooklyn chose not to re-sign him a year after we gave CPU full control of our own team. 15, 4, and 5 were his career splits, but he's definitely a ways away from being a Hall of Famer. He's doing a second straight farewell tour. That makes no sense. I guess I'll allow this one, sure. And there he is, retiring the same year as Elijah Banks. He's 38, Miller's 40, but Miller, I mean, just incredible, talented player. Retires a Knick, but played for Golden State and Sacramento for a long time. Mostly a West Coast player, 24 points per game, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal, almost 1 block, 48% shooting, almost 41% from downtown, 95, 96 at the line, 4.7 plus minus. I mean, that over 40,000 points, over 40,000. Over 12,000 assists, over 2,000 steals. Man, this guy was so good. 1,556 starts in nearly 1,700 games played. 418 double-doubles, 34 triple-doubles. This guy was an absolute maniac and killed us every time he faced him. We did, I think, probably have a leg up on him in terms of the overall matchup. 61-point career high, 20 field goals made, 13 threes made, 24 free throws, 19 rebounds, 21 assists is absolutely diabolical. 8 steals, 6 blocks. He's going to make the Hall of Fame easy. I mean, we'll check on that in a moment. Elijah Banks made the All-Star team 13 times. So he did end up being worth the first overall pick in 2029. That was the year before Kylan Johnson. And he played in Memphis his entire career. 20 points per game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 48% from the field, 40% downtown, 95 at the line. That's like the standard, like, insane line. 29,000 plus points, over 8,000 assists, 2,000 steals. His plus minus average was 0.7. And he started every game that he played, he started in. All 1,448 games. That is an almost impossible feat. 161 double-doubles, 11 triple-doubles. He was really good. So let's go see these total numbers. Othello Hunter, by the way, also makes the Hall of Fame, but only averaged like 14, 5, and 7. I don't really care about him. But Miller and Banks. Miller, first of all, won MVP 6 times. Good golly almighty. 14 All-Star appearances. He was the best player of the series. The best player. 2 titles, 2 Finals MVPs, 10 All-NBA first-team appearances, 5 second-team, 1 third-team. Never made All-Defense, but did win Rookie of the Year and All-Rookie First-Team. 6 MVPs and 14 All-Stars, though, is probably the best combo you're going to get out of any player in the series. Frank Bauer maybe has a leg up on him overall, but, I mean, 6 MVPs is hard to argue with. Elijah Banks, 13 All-Star appearances, 2 NBA second teams, 0 first teams, but 4 third teams, no defense teams. And there you go. Also got Rookie of the Year and All-Rookie First Team. But that is it. We're going to stop here in 2048. We're not going to advance any further except beyond retirements for jerseys. Miller gets 2 different teams to retire number 7. The Grizzlies will retire number 10. That's cool. Let's talk about the team history real quick as we wrap up the episode. If you're curious about the NBA history, here were the last couple years after Miller's final MVP. A couple different players won MVP, and these were your champions. The Mavericks have kind of become a dynasty, although Brooklyn also won an additional title against them in the midst of these 3 titles. So kind of like the Cavaliers and Warriors back in the 2010s. But these were all of the awards, or all of the past champions since then. And now we'll talk about the team history. First of all, retired jerseys. Only 2 for the Aztecs, John Cobb and Kylan Moore. I think that makes sense. Although I do think that Dennis, playing as long as he did and as well as he did deserve number 1 to be retired here, but I cannot force that to happen. In terms of the team history, 5 division titles, 6 Western Conference championships. Our last playoff appearance was back in 2042. We're in 2048 now, so it's been a long time. 14 playoff appearances, 2 NBA titles. We saw both of those in the detailed seasons. We have not won since then, with our overall rivals being the following teams. They're missing about 1 team here that I can think of, but they've got the Pelicans, Rockets, Lakers, Hawks, and Nuggets. The Lakers don't belong there. They have not been a problem for us at all, but the Brooklyn Nets not being here is a problem. They should be on here. I also think that the Mavericks and our Warriors could be on here in place of the Hawks and Pelicans. And Denver too, but the Rockets belong there for sure. Now for team records. We'll go through the season records first and then the playoff records after that. And then we'll try and find some of these players on the all-time scoring list. But John Cobb, top 3 games, then Kylan Moore, the last 2 here in the top 5 for total points of the game. Highest is 57. Field goals made, 20 for John Cobb back in 2030. Anything that begins in the fall of 2033 or afterwards, those are all set by the teams after we gave over control. So keep that in mind. John Cobb, though, still is first place in 3-pointers made back in 2032. Free throws made 2 different times for Kylan Moore, once in our final year and then once a couple years after that. Rebounds in a game, Kylan Moore in our final season at 24 and again a couple years later. Assists per game, or assist in a game, David Dennis at 18 and then 17. Those were 8 years apart. Blocks, 8 in 2032 and 2033. So our second to last year, or no, our last year and the year after we gave over control. Steals, Jarris Walker still at the top alongside Cobb in a couple other games with 6 steals in a game. And then that's kind of it for that. Now we'll go over in a playoff game. 65 for John Cobb in 2031. We have not seen anything close to that since that game. So he still holds that record. Same goes for field goals made in a game for that same performance. 3-pointers made, he hit 10 4 different times in the playoffs across 3 different seasons. Free throws made, 19 by Cobb, 19 by Kylan Moore. The one by Cobb in 2032, the one by Moore in 2035. Rebounds in a game, 24 in 2035 for Moore. And then he has every record in the book for that. Assists, Dennis has the top 4, with all of those coming in the years that we watched. Blocks, 8 for Moore in a game. That was back in 2031. Steals, 5 for a few different players, but with the top 2 coming in games that we were there for. So there you go with that. Now we'll look at season real quick. Cobb has the top 3 highest scoring seasons in team history. Kylan Moore up there in 4th. Field goals made, Cobb top 2, Moore number 3. 3-pointers made, Cobb has every record for us on the team. Free throws made, Kylan Moore number 1, Cobb not far behind in 2nd place. These two going back and forth for every top 10 record. Rebounds, Kylan Moore has almost all of these, with the top 1 coming in our final season that we watched. Assists, Dennis has all of these. Our best point guard still deserves to have number 1 retired, but I digress. Blocks, Ronnie Waters actually did pass Kylan Moore. He was, I guess, a more traditional paint defender, but Moore has pretty much all the rest of them besides 1. Steals, Cobb had the most, the top 2, and 4 of the top 5 seasons steal-wise. That's kind of it. Points per game, Cobb and Kylan Moore split with 5 each, but Cobb has the top 1. Field goal percentage, Mark Williams. 3-point percentage was actually Herb Jones back in 2031. Free throws, David Dennis was perfect in 2038. He must have barely played that year. I'm like, holy cow, that's actually insane. Cobb has number 2 and 3. Rebounds, rebounds per game, Ronnie Waters, then Kylan Moore for a lot of the rest. Assists per game, Dennis for 9 of the top 10 records. Blocks per game, Moore with 6 of the top 10. Steals per game, Cobb. Minutes per game, Kylan Moore. Fouls, Naz Reid. And now, career-wise, I can't see any of these records for some reason. Oh yeah, by the way, that 65-point game from Cobb is the highest scoring still since then, since 2031, which is like 17 years ago now at this point in this episode. Still the highest scoring individual playoff game by a player. Still over MJ. He also has number 3 with 61. I think those are both against the Rockets, if I recall correctly. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think I am. Actually, this 65-point game I think was actually against Brooklyn in the finals, maybe. I want to say, but it was the Rockets or Nets, one of those two. Otherwise, Hebo Miller ties Lillard 3 different times for most threes made in a playoff game. Darius Williams up there for free throws been in a playoff game. So, yeah, there were some incredible games, incredible careers by some different players. That 2033 season by Ant, by the way, where he put up like 36 points per game, was the 5th highest season for points scored. So, shout out to him. Luka did it back in 2029 with number 8, and then Ants again in 2026, 7 years before his best season, scoring-wise. In terms of threes made, Lawrence Murphy of the Bucks actually has the best year shooting-wise from downtown in terms of the made shots. Miller up there in 2nd place. We've got nobody in the top 10. Oh my god, Cuba Miller is the only player besides LeBron to pass 40K. We thought this could never happen, but he actually did it, and he is now 2nd place. That's how great that guy was, man. I mean, that just blows my mind. Ant had over 38K to get 3rd place. Darius Williams, top 10. Henrik Wahlgren, Jesus, at number 11. York at 13. Yeah, there were some absolutely insane players. Bauer at number 20. Cobb at 22. Corey Carter, Elijah Banks in the top 25. Just a couple of insane careers. Kylan Moore, top 40 at 38. Incredible. But Miller and Wahlgren both passed Steph Curry for 3-pointers made in a career. York in 4th, Ant in 5th, Cobb at number 7, Bauer at 8, Elijah Banks at 10. Just shows the trend of the league, going to more 3-point shots. So you'll see more newer names appear as, if you were to keep going, you would see more newer names as you would keep going. Free throws made. Karl Malone still first by a very wide margin. So he's a bit of a creep. Cuba Miller at number 9, though. So, took a lot of free throws. Cobb and Moore should be up here somewhere. See York, Williams, Bauer up here. Not seeing Cobb anywhere, though. There's Kylan Moore at 39. Cobb at 41, so very, very close to each other on this list. Now we move on to rebounds. Moore should be up here pretty high, right? You've got Nikola Jokic, Giannis, Frank Bauer, Dion York. Kylan Moore not being top 30 is a shock to me. I saw Henrik Wahlgren up there. Moore's at 34. Okay. In terms of assists, Kibo Miller, number 2. Yeah, this guy definitely... Kibo Miller literally has his name in the running for greatest player of all time. Even though he only won 2 titles, but the amount of accolades that he has, aside from titles, rivals LeBron to an extent. I mean, this is absolutely insane what this guy has put together here for his career. Like, definitely better than Frank Bauer, that's for sure. Despite the amount of triple-doubles that Bauer had, Miller was just a better player, and he was a point guard. That's kind of tough to do. David Dennis, number 22 in assists all time. How about that? In terms of blocks, Kylan Moore is top 20 at number 19 for a career. Bauer at 16. And number 1, Wembanyama, to nobody's surprise. In terms of steals, Darius Williams cracked the top 10. So did Asar Thompson and Wembanyama. Minutes, though, LeBron first will probably never be surpassed in that regard. Points per game, doesn't really matter that much. We already saw the points in a career, so that kind of covers that base. So that's pretty much the awards and pretty much the stats and the record books. And I guess that's kind of it. I guess I'll leave us on the team history screen. But that's pretty much it, guys. I don't really know how to close it out, honestly. I've been recording for over 4 hours now. I'll see how long this takes me to cut down to, I would hope, less than 2 hours, but who really knows. If you stuck around for this long in this episode, congratulations, I didn't bore you. But thanks for watching, I guess. I mean, that's kind of it. It's not really a successful long-term sim in terms of winning titles, but we definitely saw, you know, some great careers out of not only our players, but other players that we faced off against and were rivals with throughout the entire series, like Miller, Bauer, and other guys, and Dion York. But I guess that'll do it here, guys. This was the final episode, the long-term sim, and that'll put the Aztecs in the history books of the NBA and the history books of this channel. And I guess you'll have to wait and see what 2K26 has in store for our new team. As I alluded to, we're going to be in Florida. I'm not going to reveal our city. I'm not going to reveal our nickname or anything like that. But I guess you'll see that in episode 1 coming your way pretty darn soon. Probably within the week, if I had to guess. And we'll go from there. I expect a bit of a different format. It'll be a bit more streamlined, a bit faster paced, a bit more all-encompassing, but should be still a really good time. And a bit of a different starting point for us, advancing 5 years first and then adding our team. and probably a team in the Western Conference too. But that will do it for this one, guys. If you watched every episode or the majority of the episodes, or if you watched episode 1 and this episode, regardless of how many you watched in between, thank you. Thank you for your supports. I really do appreciate it. Obviously, I've talked about, trying to improve this kind of series because viewership has not been the best. But regardless, I still love doing this. I will always love doing this as far as I can see. And I'm going to keep on doing it until I feel like I don't want to do this anymore. But that's not nothing that I have right now. I want to keep on going, so I will be doing that. And again, thank you for watching as long as you did, and hopefully you stick around for the next series for 2K26. I will see y'all there. Thanks for watching as always. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, leave your feedback down below about who your favorite player was, who is your favorite rival in this series, and if you kill it, tell me your favorite plays and favorite moments from the series, and I'll try and maybe use them for kind of those clips I use to kind of show what previous series were like at the beginning of a new series. That'll do it here, guys. I'll see y'all and hopefully the next series. So take care. Peace out. Have a good day.